Hello and welcome back to Culz Book Reviews, the series that we want to continue to show our sources that help make our videos possible on this channel. And with our upcoming JFK and Nightmare on Elm Street video, this Jim Bishop the day Kennedy was shot really came in handy, especially in laying out the events of that day. So as you can see there, this is not going to be a short read. It does clock in at a big 691 pages. And though the total page count may seem daunting, it really is not a hard read, and it's really made to keep you hooked on the subject. I never found it as a chore to read it, and I continue to want to go back and read more. We can see that this book was originally published in 1968, though the copy in front of us today was copyrighted and published in 2013. So, being so close to the actual assassination date, obviously November 22nd, 1963, do not expect any conspiracy theories or theories of Oswald getting help during the assassination. So, one thing that really stood out, obviously, the assassination happens well before page 200. So, you have all those other pages to show exactly how much was going on, the chaos that ensued, and how really maybe unprepared the American political system and government was for something like this to happen. I mean, it's crazy. You're reading on, and at least for myself personally, I found myself thinking, man, it feels like ages ago that this assassination happened, when in fact only been a couple hours in the time. Obviously, this starts right at the beginning of the day and ends a little bit after on the 23rd, about 3 a.m. roughly Dallas time. It also shows, though, just like how much would have had to have happened for Oswald to shoot the president, make it down from the sixth to the second floor, then make it out of the Texas School Book Depository building, walk up Elm Street, catch a bus, get stuck in traffic, catch a taxi cab, make it to his house, get the gun, walk, shoot Tippit, walk to the theater, and then get arrested there. And it really happened in like a little over or a little less than an hour. And that was crazy. I was like, man, there's so much going on. And during the assassination event, I mean, that is the most I don't even know how to describe it, but that's the most hooked, the best portion of the book, I would say, because obviously we all know the assassination. So as the motorcade's going towards Houston, you're just like, you feel that dread. You're like, oh no. You're like, can the clock stop? Can we change this? But slowly, time keeps marching on. It will not stop for anybody. And man, that dread just builds and builds and builds. And I think that is the best portion of the book itself. At the beginning of the book, the author also says that he wants to try to be fair, and I know that's his wishes going in. I don't know if it really came out that way, at least with like LBJ, Jack Ruby, Lee Harvey Oswald, even Jackie Kennedy. I think there was times where I was like, either A, they're nitpicking how Jackie's reacting because her husband just got shot right in front of her. Obviously, that's going to be a super traumatic experience. But B, how they describe Ruby or how they describe other people, I'm just like, I don't know if that's totally being fair. And sometimes it almost comes off as like mockery. So I was like, well, it's kind of weird. And speaking of Lyndon Baines Johnson, the way he is painted in this book for not being a conspiratorial book, it really paints him in a conspiratorial fashion. I mean, it's really crazy. I mean, it just makes him seem so rushed for power. We got to do this, this, this. I mean, yeah, parts it does say, hey, he felt scared. He was nervous. He didn't know this and that. But I mean, really, I felt like it painted him in a really negative fashion for not being a conspiratorial book. And again, for not being a conspiratorial book, the way it painted Dallas was very strange because, especially at Dealey Plaza, before the Kennedy motorcade had even turned on Houston, it kept showing all these people that for sure saw Oswald in the window with a gun and did nothing. Like tons of people, like almost it felt like everybody at one point. I was like, geez, everybody saw him with a gun and did nothing. So it really painted Dealey Plaza, the people in Dealey Plaza, like they just couldn't do anything right. Like seriously, you see the gun in the window and you're just like, it's odd, but it's normal, especially with the president about to come down here. Just felt kind of strange how you got to swallow this pill, right? And honestly, there's going to be two sides of the fence. Either you believe the Warren Commission or you don't. And that might factor into if you want to read this book, because Jim Bishop, even at the end of the book, states that the Warren Commission is the best source of material on the assassination. And he really does stick to that as far as the official timeline will say. And so that might sway you one way or the other. But for me, not saying which side I believe, but I do think it at least gives a really cool outline to see where everybody was at certain points of the time, certain places, and really puts everybody in their places. If you buy the stories or not, that's one thing, but at least it helps you give you that outline. So overall, yes, I would recommend this. And actually, because I've read this, I actually want to read his other book, The Day Lincoln Was Shot, because it really kept me entertained, enthralled, wanting to learn more. And so overall, I'd probably rate it like a 7, 8 to 8 out of 10. I do think it's worth your read if you want to pick up something, at least dip your toe in the waters that is the Kennedy assassination. And again, if you want to see more Culz Book Reviews, click the link to your left. If you want to see more of what we do at Culz Paranormal, click the link to your right. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe.